Hey, what's up, everybody? Chicago Gooner here, bringing you another Arsenal talk. In this Arsenal talk, I'll just be talking about a little bit of transfer stuff, not a whole lot, and maybe a little bit about the team. Starting off with a little bit of the transfer. Not too much news, especially after the Ospina and Chambers signings were announced in back-to-back days, which was lovely. Um, like I said, some of my other past episodes that we're getting most of our business done before August, which is just huge as far as the team goes, as far as getting the players in and getting them training with the squad. Um, you know, all guys are accounted for except for Alexis Sanchez. Unfortunately, um, he had to stay in London and train by himself, or who knows? He might be training with some of the reserves or the under 21s that are still possibly left in London to train. Um, that's kind of unfortunate. I guess he had some like visa problems of trying to get into Austria, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Just because he's been playing and he played in Italy, he played in Spain, now he's in England, and all of a sudden he's having problems with with visa problems, trying to get into countries and stuff like that, and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know how they work Champions League games, especially when they have to travel to a different country, whether it be Spain or not Spain, like Italy or England or Germany, France, or Netherlands. Take your pick. Um, maybe Austria just has some very difficult rules of getting in and out of the country. Maybe I just don't know. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, which is kind of unfortunate because he's not able to train with the squad and get to know the guys and whatnot, and just to have that extra training would help him along with his teammates and whatnot. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it's just such a good relief as far as like as an Arsenal fan that they're getting all their business done. I mean, I like this new Arsenal all of a sudden. In years past it was just we might have one signing before August, and then the rest of it is done basically within the last week or two of the transfer window. And now we're getting all of our business done before August. And from people that are in the know, if you follow on Twitter, it's the same names. They pretty much keep on saying that Arsene is not done, that he still has at least maybe two, maybe three more signings to go. I guess in reality, I think there's going to be at least one more signing. I hope that is a DM most of all, um, but it's possibly two. It just all depends on what Thomas Vermaelen wants to do. If he wants to stay or if he wants to go. There has been no word whatsoever, but it seems like he's on his way out. Just by all the stuff that Arsene Wenger has said over the last about week and a half about him. We got Callum Chambers who can, which the under 19 England coach said his more natural position is as a center half, which is good to hear. That I'm sure all the UK people are pleased with the signing because he is English, and but he just seems like everything I read about him, and all the reports and evaluations that are made about Callum Chambers is that we really got a talented young prospect who it's kind of like sky's the limit with him. The potential is there. The potential of being like a world class player is there. Whether it be at center half, whether it be at right back. I'd rather see it at center half, that he can learn under Mertesacker and Koscielny and be that heir apparent when either Mertesacker or Koscielny moves on. To learn under those guys, and if he can be even half as smart as Mertesacker on the pitch, I mean, we got a pretty good deal, especially for I believe it was only 16 million pounds. If you look at what Luke Shaw went for, he went for 30 million pounds. Yeah, granted, he has great potential. He has all the makings of being a world class like left back. As far as the UK, of course, the UK papers are gonna always beef up the England players more than anybody else, but it seems like we really got a good sign, and we got a pretty good deal out of it too. I think, given his age and given that he is English, I think if you do Spanish or even French, I think you'd probably go for more than like more of the range of like 7 to 8 million pounds. Rather, just because he is English, they're going to inflate his price tag, and um, of course, one of the part of the news, of course, Colin Chambers from Southampton, the Southampton chairman, came out on Monday and said they will not sell any more players uh, because it looked like Jay Rodriguez was going to either Tottenham or Liverpool, and then of course Morgan Schneiderlin as well was either supposed to go to either Tottenham or Arsenal. And there was a lot of conflicting reports about Morgan Schneiderlin as well, saying that he was going to choose Spurs over Arsenal. If that's true, then have fun with that. I don't, because he couldn't be guaranteed first team minutes. I don't want a player like that on Arsenal. Um, if you're a guy like Mesut Ozil, Alexis Sanchez, yeah, okay, you promise them uh, first team minutes. I mean, look at the Callum Chambers uh, transfer. There is a quote out there by Arsene Wenger promising Callum Chambers that he will get at least 20 appearances in the next season. That's pretty good. That's a lot of confidence in a young player. As far as Callum Chambers goes, that Arsene Wenger is already telling him that you're going to get at least 20 appearances. Now, if he's saying that to a 19-year-old, don't you think he would probably say that to Morgan Schneiderlin too? That you'll at least get this. Looks like Morgan Schneiderlin wanted first team minutes. He wanted to be the first choice DM, and being at Arsenal, you just can't promise that. There's so much talent around. There's so much talent on the team already. You just can't promise that to anybody unless you're a world class player. If you're a world class player, obviously. If Khedira does come to the club, um, I'll get into that a little bit later. If Khedira comes to the club, of course you're going to say, yes, you're going to be our first choice DM. You're going to be our first choice CM, whatever you call it, to play that role, to play that like Mikel Arteta type of role. Of course you're going to say that to him because he is like a world class DM CM type of player. Of course you're going to say that before Morgan Schneiderlin, who is not known around the world, who is not known around even Europe. He's only known basically in the Premier League. Uh, so it was kind of funny that he wanted to be guaranteed those minutes, and that just doesn't happen at Arsenal. If you're not those marquee players, you just cannot promise that to anybody. You have to fight for that position. You have to earn that position at Arsenal. And if you don't want to earn that position at Arsenal, then go somewhere else. Plus, if the reports were true that he was going to choose Spurs over Arsenal, that's another red flag right there. And okay, take a walk, and you have fun in mediocrity, because that's all it is up there. That's all the scum is mediocrity. That's it. And um, why would we want a player like that who doesn't want to fight and earn his spot on the team, who wants to earn and fight his spot on the starting 11? Because in that position alone, you're still going to have two or three players fighting for that spot. You don't want to have anybody feel relaxed. That's what makes a big club, is that you always have to look over your shoulder at, okay, who's performing just as good as I am. Okay, I have to step it up a level. If Morgan Schneiderlin doesn't want to be that type of guy, then let him walk. It'll just be a waste of money anyway, because supposedly Southampton wanted 27 million pounds for him. That's way too much money. If you're going to spend 27 million pounds on Morgan Schneiderlin, you might as well just throw another 3 on there and go after William Carvalhal, who is more of a prospect and has more talent going into the future than a Morgan Schneiderlin does. He's a bigger force. I just think, God, if we can get that guy, he would just be a fucking monster for us. And he just, every time I look at some of his different, highlight tapes, the guy just looks like a monster. I'd rather pay out 30 million pounds for that guy than a Morgan Schneiderlin, who is, who just seems like he's okay with being in, seventh, eighth place teams throughout his career, there, or he just wants to get a constant paycheck or something. I don't know. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Um, but going into like Khedira stuff, I guess there was a report out there a couple of days ago that he's willing to take less money now. Whether it's true or not, the reports are still that Arsenal and Real Madrid have agreed to a transfer fee, and it's on the table still. But they're just waiting for Khedira to say yes or no. It seems like Arsenal really stuck to their guns on this. If the reports are true that Khedira is willing to take less money now, it almost feels like that. Arsenal was playing poker with him, and they call his bluff and say, you know what, we're not going to pay you that type of money, but our offer is on the table, and it'll stay on there until we get somebody. If we don't get anybody until you make a decision, until you're ready to come, then so be it. So it looks like they basically kind of called his bluff, and of course, so then he's back in the news. He's back in the possibility of coming to Arsenal, and it's a possibility too that Mesut Ozil got to him and said, "Hey, look, look what we're building here. Look what we can be. Look what we can be." And let's face it. Maybe Mesut Ozil even told him, "It's like, look, buddy, you're not better than I am. I'm the one that's making the big bucks here. Alexis Sanchez is the one that's making the big bucks here. You might be on the same level maybe as an Alexis Sanchez, but you're not on the same level as I am. And like I said in my past episodes, we just can't pay him that excuse me, that type of money, paying him as the highest paid player, and that's just not going to happen." Another thing that was in the news that's been pretty interesting, that's been going around for the last 24 hours, is Marco Reus. And I give this about like maybe like a 1% chance of this even happening, but he turned down a contract to Dortmund in the last 24 hours. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it was an insulting contract. Maybe Marco Reus views himself as a certain type of player that he deserves a certain amount of money, and Dortmund try to lowball him, which Dortmund has no reason to. Considering they lost Götze and Lewandowski in back-to-back years, and now they're trying to lowball their best player. It just doesn't make any sense. But next summer in 2015, Marco Reus's contract, he has a buyout clause that activates in the summer of 2015. There's a lot of conflicting reports of how much it is. Some say it's 35 million euros. And, some other reports say it's 45 million euros. And Dortmund's kind of in a dilemma here. Because if Marco Reus keeps on rejecting these contracts, there's some Dortmund fans saying that he wants to stay. Of course he wants to stay, but he just wants to get paid. He wants to get paid the money that he, I guess that he deserves as being a world class player that he is. Because there's a lot of there's been a lot of reports this summer. Of course, Hummels, Manchester United are trying to go after him. Barcelona was trying to go after him supposedly. I think even Real Madrid might have been in the mix there for a week or two for Hummels. So there's a lot going on in Dortmund, and this is the kind of question I pose: is if Dortmund knows that Reus wants to leave, do you really want to wait until next summer to sell him off, because if they sell him now, they could probably get 60, 65 million euros possibly for him. But if they wait until next summer, and if the reports are true that people can come in and activate his buyout clause for 35 million euros, I mean, just think about all the money that they're going to lose on him. Um, unless Royce comes out and says, "Yeah, I want to stay with the club. I just want to get paid what I deserve." But that's something to really, look out for to the very last day of the window, because there's a lot of reports that Liverpool wants him. There's reports that Manchester United want him. Um, there's a lot of reports now saying that Bayern Munich is in the mix, and then there's some reports that are saying that Arsenal's in the mix. And like I said, I give it a 1% chance because, where do you fit him in? Unless Alexis Sanchez is going to be the out and out striker, day in and day out, or in every single major game, you just can't see Reus coming on to Arsenal. I don't know if you can really see Arsenal paying out, possibly the 60 million euros, possibly the 65 million euros that, you might have to pay for him to get him here. And of course, there's Theo coming back then, because if you're trying to get Reus in, that means someone has to go. Someone has to definitely go. And that means either Santi, that means either Podolski. Of course, if you're going to get in a guy like Reus, of course you would be okay with having either one possibly leave the club. So that's why I just give it, like a 1% chance of this even happening. But I would rather see Reus. I mean, of course, if he's going to go to anywhere, you want him to come to Arsenal, obviously. But I would kind of rather see him just stay at Dortmund. Dortmund's had to kind of suffer, for the last 2 years of losing, one of their best players, in back-to-back years. I think part of this is due to Reus wants to see the club actually put money back into the club, make some good transfers, bring in some world-class players, and bring Dortmund back up to where they used to be. And challenging for the league, challenging for Champions League, being a major player in European football. And when you see two players just walking out the door, getting, I think Götze was a buyout clause, and of course Lewandowski was he left on a free. I heard there's some money that changed hands between Bayern Munich and Dortmund. But, does Dortmund really want that to happen again? Do they want to lose out? Because last summer they could have sold Lewandowski for, 40 million pounds easily. Arsenal probably would have snatched him up in a heartbeat. I know they made inquiries about him in the January window, to where I know Szczesny tried to convince him, Podolski tried to convince him to come to Arsenal. But his heart was set on going to Bayern Munich, which you can't blame him. Winning the league and being a player in Champions League year in and year out, that's something that any player would want. But does Dortmund really want to see Marco Reus walk out the door for the minimum amount, to where they're going to lose money unless they dump him this summer? So it's one to really look out for. All the way up until the last day, where the window slams shut. And it might be a name that might get out there. Another name that's been in the news, of course, too, is Cavani. Supposedly he was removed from a new PSG poster. And he was left out, I guess, of this past weekend's team, I believe. But I don't know if that's due to the fact of the 4-week clause in FIFA, where you have to have at least 4 weeks off after you get knocked out of the World Cup. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. There's a lot of conflicting reports that are saying that he might go to Liverpool, Manchester United, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It would make sense more of the Liverpool stands, because they have the money to actually pay out for it, because his price tag's going to be probably around 60 million euros. PSG's probably not going to, even though everybody else has PSG by the balls because they know they need to sell them or they need to sell someone because I guess the Di Maria um, transfer to PSG is imminent. They just need to offload Cavani first. And I was trying to think of other teams who could possibly buy him, and there's not many teams at all. The only other team that could possibly buy him is us. But I just don't see it happening. Um, because in the news today that uh, Olivier Giroud is going to sign a new 2-year contract extension. And supposedly he wants to make what Podolski makes. I think Podolski makes around like 105 million or 100, excuse me, 105, 107,000 pounds a week, um, which is fine. If he keeps on scoring like he does, if he scores 20 plus goals a season, that's the type of money you give somebody. Um, which I'm fine with. So if they're going to ink Giroud to a new deal, they got Sanchez already in house. Joel Campbell is training with the team currently, and I think he's going to get a real chance. He's going to get his chance up until January, I think, to make the squad and to make an impression and say, that he belongs with Arsenal. Um, so I just don't. I Cavani is, I guess, considered a world-class striker. I don't know if I would really consider him. His work rate is off the charts. His goal scoring is pretty good. Um, but again, I, I, I if Arsenal was going to pay 55 million euros last year, when they could have gone from Napoli, I just can't see them paying an extra five, uh, which would make 60 million euros for Cavani this year, who is a year older. He's 27 currently. I just can't see that happening. Um, I know a lot of people are saying, well, the door is open for Arsenal to make that move, and I just can't see that happening because then there might be too many bodies. Of course, um, would we want his quality in the team? Obviously, but I just can't see Arsenal paying out that type of money for Cavani. Um, I rather see if anything, I rather have them see paying out 55 million, 60 million euros for a guy like Marco Reus, because again, Marco Reus is kind of interchangeable too. He can play on the wing, he can play at the number 10 role, he can play at striker if you really need him to. Um, to where Cavani, he just didn't look right in PSG when he had to play on the left wing last season. He just didn't he just didn't look right. He didn't look happy at all either. He gives it his all, but I just can't see that happening. But in other news, I mean that's basically been all the stuff that's been going on for the last few days. There hasn't been any kind of real concrete information that's been out there as far as what Arsenal is going to do next. It's obvious what they're going to do next as far as if Thomas Vermaelen leaves. Obviously they're going to probably try to go out and get another center half because how much of course Arsene has confidence in Chambers and his talent and his potential, but can he really go into a new season with a 19-year-old as a center half who played mostly as right back last year with Southampton? So you can't really go into a season when someone doesn't have that much experience. Um, so I would expect them to go out there and get another center half, possibly a journeyman center half, possibly. I would like to see them get younger. Obviously, they already got younger with Chambers. It would be nice to get someone maybe around the 23, 24 range, maybe who does have experience, but then who can play right away, and you wouldn't be so nervous with him back there, whether he's with Kashani or whether he's with Mertesacker or whoever it may be. But it seems like if Vermaelen leaves, then of course we'd go and get another center half. And but with the Chambers move, with Ospina in house now, it seems like all their priorities now are to get another CM slash DM, which seems, but again, with the new news coming out today that Southampton is not going to sell Morgan Schneiderlin to anybody. Um, obviously no one could really meet their demands of what they wanted, which was supposedly 27 million pounds. It seems like he's going to be staying at Southampton, which is fine. Um, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see what's going to be coming up in the next probably about a week, maybe even week and a half, because in that time frame, that's when you're going to start seeing the Germans come back. You're going to maybe see that's maybe possibly when the Khedira stuff might drop. You just never know. Um, maybe Khedira is kind of contemplating right now if he wants to take less money or whatever. But I think you'll probably see that signing, whether it be Khedira or whether it be another DM, happen before the season. It just has to, because it looks, obviously it's going to look more and more that Arteta is going to be the opening day DM, which I kind of roll my eyes, but it's going to take at least a month, maybe two, to get that new DM comfortable with the Premier League and everything like that. Just it's kind of like the normal stuff. Like you bring in a new player, and it's going to take them a few months to adapt to the league, which is fine. But it would be nice to get that guy in as soon as possible, whoever that might be. What other news are out there? Looks like Carl Jenkinson will be going out on loan. It seems like the leading team for his sign, for his signature at least, is West Ham. I guess Carl Jenkinson, um, he requested to stay in London, which West Ham is in London. Hull City was another team out there. Also, I believe Southampton was as well. Was another team that was looking at him as well. But it seems like West Ham is going to. That's his destination. Which good team. Decent team, I would say. I wouldn't say good team, but I would say decent team. And I really hope that he gets a lot of time there. That he at least gets at least 20 starts, maybe. Maybe add on maybe another 5 appearances. So around 25 appearances would be nice. 20 starts would be nice to get him that first team football, to get him that experience that he needs. Serge Gnabry, it seems like he is on the move, that he will be going to Southampton, which I think is a good move as well. Regardless, I'm not sure what the new manager is going to be like. Of course, the new Spurs manager was the old Southampton manager, liked to attack a lot. I'm not sure what the new Southampton manager is going to be like, but it wouldn't be too bad. You have Jay Rodriguez on one side, and then you have Serge Gnabry on the other. And I think it's good business by Arsenal to send him to a decent club, a good club, to get him that experience, because he'll play day in and day out for that club. And he can be, Gnabry could almost be like what Lukaku was to Everton last year, to where Lukaku beat some of those top teams and helped Chelsea gain points week in and week out. So I think Gnabry would be a good move to send him to Southampton. So he'll probably basically start every single game as long as he can stay healthy. So. And of course, with their youth program, they seem like they have a good setup over there. So I think that'll be a great move for Gnabry. Of course, there's still news about Joel Campbell possibly moving to AC Milan, Newcastle. It's all over the place. I don't think it doesn't seem like Joel Campbell will be moving until January. I think, like I said earlier, I think he's going to get his chance to make a name for himself, to get on the team, to get maybe not first team minutes, but maybe like say first or second striker off the bench, first or second winger off the bench, another attacking player that you can bring on late in the game that can hopefully maybe score you a goal or something, or make a nuisance of himself. So but that's about it as far as Arsenal news. again, I think the next few days, going into the Emirates Cup, I think it's just going to be all, Emirates Cup. It's going to be um, seeing photographs and whatever type of press conferences they have about the training in Austria, uh, prior to the Emirates Cup. So I think it's going to be, it's going to be pretty silent as far as transfer news over the next, I would say, week or so. I think it might be, it might start kick, it might kick back up after the Emirates Cup, and hopefully we'll hear maybe a new name or maybe a couple of names we have already heard that Arsenal are in talks with to get in. So other than that, you know, hopefully the Emirates Cup this weekend will be fun to watch. Can't wait for it. Of course it's Monaco, Benfica, and wow, I forgot the other name. Well, I really don't care anyway. But other than that, have a good rest of the week, and we'll talk to you later.